We're joined by our senior counsel for global affairs, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. First time since Election Day. And first off, just right away, I will talk about it a little bit, Secretary Pompeo, on Veterans Day, but I want to thank you for your service to our country. You've got a new piece up at aclj.org. And this is, again, people are looking for this kind of info. So this is exclusive to ACLJ. It's lessons from the midterm elections. You traveled the country. You were with the voters. What is your biggest takeaway now? I mean, we still don't know exactly the balance of power, but your biggest takeaway from Tuesday's election?
I think my biggest takeaway by far, Jordan, is what I saw for the 14 months, is that people are looking for serious leadership. They're not looking for noise. They're not looking for tweets. They're looking for people with real solutions to things that matter in their lives. And you saw the candidates that did that didn't just rail against the machine. They said, here's my idea. Here's my vision. Here's how we'd execute that. Here's how we'd implement it, how we make it work. Serious people who weren't afraid to tell them hard truths about inflation or crime or the things that were really impacting them. Those candidates tended to do far better than candidates who just sort of tried to ride the tide. That tide didn't come in the way that I had hoped that it would come in. And I think what this reminds us all is this is a serious moment in American history, and it requires serious leadership as we move forward.
I kind of felt the same way. So you can have a big social media following, you can make your statements, you can be even popular amongst maybe the conservative echo chamber. Yeah. But a lot of people decide, Secretary Pompeo, that, you know what, we're in this economic uncertainty time, and even though I don't love what Joe Biden's doing and some of these Democrats, they seem more serious. And maybe I don't want this candidate, that candidate. I'm not naming names, but maybe I don't trust them.
You want people to activate,
process.
not to just stir stuff up.
And so that takeaway, and again, people are going to learn this, but as you just said, like, it's not just about being an anti-Biden, but this kind of solutions to, okay, how are you going to handle inflation? What can we actually do to address this quickly? And so the candidates that did that, I'm sure that as you travel the country, I bet most of those did win.
Yeah, I think that's right. Look, we shouldn't underestimate. This is a divided country. You can see it. It's divided by region. You can see it's divided in lots of ways politically. But the issues that were on people's minds didn't change. We were talking about this many, many times, Jordan. People care about the fact that they're not going to have home heating oil that they can afford. They care about the fact that they want to protect the unborn. And where everyone falls on these various issues, if the serious people who talked about them candidly, who weren't trying to just own the libs, but were rather trying to identify the real concerns of people all across America, they not only got conservatives because their principles and values aligned with that candidate, but they also got others from a broad spectrum and say, hey, this guy, that's a serious person who's going to go there and be thoughtful and work their tail off and actually deliver things that matter to me and my family. And those folks just tended to, in the close races, win. And those who were just out there, raising money by sending, tweets out and text messages that were alarming, they just didn't do as well. They didn't win those close races.
I mean, if you had a message to if it's Kevin McCarthy, if Republicans take back the House, so they're going to be in charge, and maybe the Senate, and there's a lot of talk about the investigations, and I think some of those people want, like on the border and Mayorkas and what Scalise said about that, I think is right. But what would your advice be to this new leadership coming in about where they should focus their attention?
They should focus on outcomes, and oversight and investigations are part of that. We need to know the things that are happening. They're about to put 87,000 new IRS agents on the street. We still have inflation that is over 7.5%. Don't think for a moment that that's a good outcome. We need to do real oversight, and then we need to provide answers. Here's what we will do when we have a president and a Senate and a House of Representatives. These are the things we'll do. We can demonstrate what outcomes will flow from those and why it matters to you, and talk with people seriously. The American people can handle hard conversation. They know how to do the things that matter to our country. We should be proud of America. We shouldn't walk away from our commitments around the world. We should deliver across the board the conservative value set that we talk about on this show all the time. And when we begin to do that and articulate it in a way that people can go, okay, I get that. I can see what you're going to do. They'll have confidence to provide us the levers of power. And then we can actually go execute and deliver on what we promised.
Secretary Pompeo, I just wanted to quickly, divert a little bit off of politics for a second, because it is Veterans Day, and like we said, thank you obviously for the service you've done to this country. And what is the message, though? We have such a divided time. I was talking to my brother here, and I said earlier today I was at my kids' school. They did a whole tribute to the veterans, bipartisan. No one was talking about politics. What's a message that you want to send right now to America's veterans when we are in such a time of what feels like uncertainty?
We should tell them thank you, as we always do, but we should also tell them we appreciate how much they have always been a bulwark for America in our most troubled times. In our most difficult moments in American history, the United States military has always stepped forward to provide an anchor for the United States of America. So thank you for that. Keep providing that anchor. Don't let our military wander into something that is off mission. And I don't mean this politically. The United States military is not a political instrument. It is a tool of American excellence and power. And we should know that, and they should know that. So when the leaders start talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion and green vehicles and all the things that are politicized, urge them to bring it back to the places that have delivered deterrence and kept our nation safe and made us more prosperous. I am so thankful for all those who are continuing to serve. It breaks my heart when I hear about kids who say, gosh, this might not be a good time to enter the military. I hope President Biden will continue to honor them and honor the commitment that we need both for those soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, but also that America needs from our armed forces.
Secretary Pompeo, I really appreciate and thank you for your service to our country.